Now, for more on this, Jasper Lee joins us now live from London. He's the chair of the London Race and Criminal Justice Consortium and former deputy mayor of London. Thank you so much for giving us your time and coming on the show. Now, there's a lot to talk about, but I have about 3.5 minutes to conduct this interview with you. I want to go back to when this Windrush scandal first broke out. Now, the Home Office did not keep a record of those granted leave to remain or issue any paperwork confirming it, meaning it's very difficult for Windrush arrivals to prove that they are in the UK legally. But I'm assuming the government officials would have guessed how hard it would have been for this generation of people to provide paperwork that dates back to decades ago. Why do you think the Windrush scandal broke out in the first place?
Well, it broke out because the government was intent in introducing a policy it called the hostile environment. And the extent of the culture of institutionalized racism, which is implicit in immigration policy in the United Kingdom, meant that the unintended victims of that hostile environment found themselves to be majorly the African and Caribbean communities who entered into Britain in the 1950s. The government knew very well what it was doing in relation to destroying the landing records, in relation to those that arrived here. And if you can imagine being asked to provide information from your entire 30, 40 years of living in a country for every single year you've lived there, then you can see that the qualification an evidential level of proof was absolutely impossible for anybody to meet.
Right. Now, there was a compensation scheme that was established in April last year, and by the end of March, 1,275 people applied for financial compensation, but only 60 people have received payments. Now, apart from paying the rest of these people, what does the government need to do to make up for the scandal?
It needs to remove the 43-page bureaucracy that constitutes an application for compensation. You need to be an Oxford first in double loss adjustment in the insurance field to be able to calculate and to fill in those forms. People are also, frankly, absolutely petrified that the government's hostile environment will continue. And if they claim compensation, they could well be targeted again. The level of intrusion required in relation to claiming this compensation is almost akin to being able to prove that you're a citizen of this country. Absolutely impossible. And that's why so few have applied. That's why so few have been paid out.
Now, you've been an advisor on race relations, particularly ones affecting African, Asian, and Caribbean communities in the UK and across Europe. Now, just give us a sense of how people from the Windrush generation particularly face discrimination and injustices, and how that folds into issues like those that Black Lives Matter are pushing forward today.
Well, I think if you do any calculation, you can go on the government's website here at the United Kingdom and see their race equality audit, and you'll see figures that demonstrate we are disproportionately targeted by the criminal justice system, not just Afro-Caribbean people, Muslims, communities, Asian communities more generally, other non-white communities, but particularly Black people are disproportionately targeted in criminal justice and policing. We die in greater number in police custody. We have an unemployment rate in London for the Afro-Caribbean youth community under 25 of 55%. That's 1 in 2 young Black people who are unemployed here in Lambeth. And in relation to COVID, the disproportionate impact on all our communities has shown again and revealed the real level of structural racism and inequality in this country. In relation to George Floyd, well, of course, that had great resonance here, because we too have our George Floyds here in the United Kingdom, and that's why it was felt so personally, much as it is for the Muslim community to see Muslims in other parts of the world prosecuted, or indeed for us when we saw our brothers in South Africa persecuted under the apartheid regime. We personally feel and are traumatized viscerally by the injustices we see our fellow brothers and sisters face.
All right, Lee Jasper, thank you so much for joining us on the program today and sharing that insight.